She and her father roll out.
Autobots, roll out!
Hey guys, it's Michaela back again with another video, and this one is going to be as brief as I possibly can make it for two reasons. The first is that I started reading A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green this morning, and I only got like 30 pages in, and my entire body is itching to continue. But the second reason is this is my second time trying to record this. I was like halfway through reviewing the third book, and the camera app just fucking crashed on my phone, so I have to start all over. I'm very pissed off. So we're just going to get started. These are the 7 books that I read this month. I wish it was more than 7, yes, but we did what we did, and now we're gonna talk about it. The first book that I read this month is The Lighthouse Keeper's Daughter by Hazel Gaynor. This book was one of the ones that I picked up in my Goodwill sort of spending spree that I went on a couple of weeks ago. I'll link the video to that somewhere. This book I basically just picked up because I thought the cover was pretty, and that was it. And I am so glad I did because I enjoyed the hell out of this. So basically this book is about 2 women who are living 100 years apart, one in 1838 and one in 1938. And both of them are women who are in very different ways sort of flouting the expectations and the set path that women are supposed to be living in their respective times. So the woman who lives in England in 1838 is named Grace Darling, and she is the titular lighthouse keeper's daughter. She lives with her parents in the lighthouse that her father runs, and she is so passionate about this lighthouse. It is the thing that she loves to do more than anything else. She loves living with her family, and she loves, you know, the everyday steps and practices of maintaining this lighthouse and the duty that comes with it. Like, it is what fuels her. But, you know, she also knows that it is her job as a woman to get married and start a life with that husband, and 2, that her brother is going to be the one who takes over the care and maintenance of this lighthouse once her father retires or passes, not her. Even though she's the one living there, she's the one doing the work every day, she will never be recognized for that work because the lighthouse keepers are men and she is a woman. However, she becomes famous throughout England because one night when this terrible storm is happening, a ship crashes just off the coast near the lighthouse, and she and her father row out to rescue people, and you know, which is not something a woman does. So she's lauded as this great hero, even though she's never going to get recognition for the everyday work that she has been doing for years. The woman who lives in 1938 is an Irish girl named Matilda Emerson, who is sailing from Ireland to America because she is 19 and unmarried and pregnant, and so her family is shipping her off to have this baby and like deal with it and then come back. And through her time in America and also living in a lighthouse, and through learning more about Grace and her own family and her own history, she learns how to stand up for what she wants, to stand up for what she believes in, to defend herself, and the person she wants, like, to how to define the person she wants to be. This is a book that celebrates the many ways to be a woman, the many ways in which womanhood is so much more than it is ever defined or allowed to be. This is clearly written by someone who like just finds so much joy in like women and being around women and women being in conversation with each other, and that is very apparent. I just felt so uplifted and seen by this. I also just felt so just transported. Like, the writing in this is stunning. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. I just felt like I was this windswept young woman in a long skirt with my hair blowing on top of a lighthouse. I wanted to be there so bad, guys. I miss New England so much. Yeah, this was a delight and such a treasure to find at the Goodwill. I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was almost positive from that same Goodwill haul, and that is Picnic Lightning by Billy Collins. I hadn't read much Billy Collins, just a little bit in like college and maybe in high school, but I enjoyed this. I'm not very good at reviewing poetry because I really only know how to talk about poetry like as a close read, not in just like in general terms, but I enjoyed this. There was this like low level of pretension that stuck out to me, like the use of some $10 words that I don't know if they were entirely necessary, But generally speaking, I did find these poems accessible. They weren't too long, which I, as someone with a short attention span, I enjoyed. I found the language, particularly like anything related to nature, very lovely. I love poems about nature, like basic bitch, but I do. And that wasn't what all of this was, but a good portion of it. And I did enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars. All right, so it was in reviewing this book that my camera cut out last time, so here's hoping. The next book I read was actually a gift of sorts from a friend. She was doing just a purge of her own like home library, and she told me to just like go through the stack of books that were going to be donated, and I just picked this one up. I didn't know literally a thing about it. I actually assumed it was an adult fiction book, but it's not. It's YA. The book is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. Once again, didn't look it up because I'm a failure. This book absolutely caught me by surprise and took my breath away. It's a little bit hard to describe, so I'm gonna do my best. So this book takes place sort of in the tail end of World War II, I believe. Oh, what if I'm wrong? Yeah, no, tail end of World War II. And it has 4 points of view, 3 of whom are trying to escape Nazi Germany, and one of whom is a Nazi soldier. All of these characters are incredibly well written, very unique and individual, and very believable as like real people. But I have to say, it is Alfred, the Nazi soldier, whose character development, and by character development I don't mean like how he develops as a person, but how the character is revealed to us over the course of the book. That character revelation is some of the most outstanding character work I've ever read in my entire life. I don't want to give too much away about really any of this because there are lots of things that sort of just take me by surprise, both plot-wise and storytelling-wise. So, and I don't want to spoil any of that because I do highly recommend this book. But the character of Alfred, so basically how his chapters work, all of these chapters are incredibly short. Like I believe the longest one is like maybe 5 pages, which I love personally, but almost all of his chapters are entirely or almost entirely letters to a girl from his hometown that he is composing in his head but not writing down. And we find out why that is later. But in these letters, he is waxing poetic about his own prowess, about his own achievement, his own bravery. He is so obsessed with himself. He keeps talking about how, how many wonderful things he is doing, how necessary he is to the Führer's cause, how invaluable and indispensable he is to the leadership. Like all he can talk about is how wonderful he is, when in reality he's like barely fit to clean toilets. He's incredibly lazy. He shirks his duties all the time. He's always getting yelled at, and he's lying. Even though he's not writing these letters down, he's like lying in his head to himself and to this girl he's writing the letters to. And he's one of those guys where you're just reading it like, yeah, like, fuck, I know this guy, right? This guy with these delusions of grandeur, these absolutely unrealistic sense of self. And the way that this develops, it starts out where it's just like, you're like, oh, this fucking guy. And then it just chips away at you, where it was getting to the point where like I would read one of his chapters, which again were not long, and I would want to put the book down and go take a shower, or like, I don't know, maybe peel my skin off. Like, he is just the worst. And I don't know if I have ever hated a character like this. Like, there are characters that I hate, like fuck Severus Snape, like willing to alienate that audience for sure. But this guy is something different. Like, this author has absolutely created someone I don't just hate, but like I despise. And it's such good writing. All of the characters are so well written. Like I said, all of them are so full and rich and real. But the character of Alfred, like, if you have ever wanted to know, like, truly what it is like to know, like, oh, I can see this person, like, on fire and, like, be chill with it. Like, this is such a good book. But in general, like I said, great book. It is a story filled with trauma and like, emotional scarring and grief and tragedy and deep bone terror, but also like joy and love and romance and family. And you know, its ending is like pretty wild. This was just like an absolute roller coaster of a read. Highly recommend. I gave this 5 stars. This next book has been on my TBR shelf for like a little while, and I'm very happy that I finally read it, and that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read The Poet X, I want to say last year, but like don't quote me on that, and really enjoyed it. So when, I think this was from my Barnes and Noble sale from like the end of last year, when I saw that this was available, I absolutely scooped it up because Poet X was great, and so was this. This is a story of Emily Santiago, who is a senior in high school, and she has a 2-year-old child. She got pregnant when she was a freshman and is now like about to graduate high school, and you know, still raising her daughter while living with her grandmother. Emily's great passion is cooking. She has this innate ability to just know what a dish needs, to be able to like see a collection of ingredients and be like, I know the perfect thing to like do with this. Like, she's a natural gifted chef, but she is also a young mother, and she doesn't even know if she can, A, wants to go to college, or B, can afford it. And so she is sort of like dealing with these questions about her future like any high school senior would, except hers have so much more weight to them. You know, her grandmother is basically only living off of disability checks. You know, she has to work to support her child who is now 2 is going to be going to school soon. Like, she has many more things layered on top of just, I'm a senior in high school and I don't know what to do with my future. This is just it's such a lovely story, and it's filled with such compassion. It's filled with such like love for Latina women and you know, Hispanic experiences as they differ from each other, but like also sort of like the overarching experience in particular Philadelphia, where this story takes place. You know, it's got all of the questions and concerns that a high school senior has, like, should I go to college? Should I study this thing I'm passionate in, or maybe something more like practical? Does this boy like me? How do I stop chafing under sort of like parental guidance while still like being my own person? But just with a more like adult lens, because Emily has to be an adult in ways that most high school seniors don't. She has to be a mother. She has to be a provider. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it beyond that. The writing is beautiful, and like I said, there's just so much compassion in here. Like, there's space given to Emily to make mistakes, to ask questions, to, you know, get things wrong, or to maybe get things right but then not necessarily even deal with that correctly, and to still grow, to still make decisions for herself, and to understand that she can make decisions for herself and her own happiness that can still benefit her child and her grandmother and her friends and like the people in her life. That being selfish isn't always just a selfish thing, that like sometimes being selfish is actually also good for the people around you, which is, you know, can be a hard thing, particularly for women of color. I don't know, I really loved this. I wish I could give a better review than that. I feel like I said nothing, but I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely devoured this book, and I highly recommend it. Also, again, as I've said with a couple books in the past, wonderful food writing. Guys, if you could describe food in a way that makes me like actively hungry, which to be honest isn't super hard because I'm always hungry, but if you can do that, you're amazing, and that's exactly what Elizabeth Acevedo does in this, because the food, oh my god, I could smell it. The next book I read, this might be controversial, but I only thought it was okay, and that is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. It took me a long time to read this. I just like put it down for like days at a time and then pick it up again. I don't really know how to describe this, except it's 2 sisters who are having boy problems, which is essentially what this book is about. I gave this 3 stars, I'm gonna say right off the bat. And before y'all come for my neck, I do want to say that I also did not really enjoy Pride and Prejudice the first time I read it. I was like, this is okay. I think I gave it 3 stars. The second time I read it, I enjoyed it a lot more, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if the same is true for Sense and Sensibility. I thought this was okay. I didn't hate it by any means, but like, I certainly didn't love it. I didn't really care about anything to do with Marianne's story. I found her, like, I get that the point of the novel is that Marianne is very emotional and reactive, and the other one, Eleanor, is very like sensible and compartmentalized. But as a very compartmentalized person, that sort of like unbelievable swell of emotion from Marianne was grating. I didn't really care about Marianne. I didn't really care if Eleanor got together with her man interest person whose name I certainly don't remember. And honestly, the fact that she does is like kind of disappointing. I was hoping that she wouldn't a little bit, but like, again, I also didn't care. I just didn't really care about what happened to them. I mean, I did like the kind of a theme of this is that men ain't shit, and like, that's fair. So it turns out that the reason my camera keeps crashing is because I'm running out of data on my phone. I'm running out of storage on my phone, which I don't understand because I don't keep shit on my phone. But we're gonna roll this along very quickly. So, I don't remember where I left off because this cut off like part of the way through this. So it was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. 3 stars. The next book I'm actually not going to talk about a lot because I already did an entire video on it, which I will link above. But this is We Are Still Tornadoes by Michael Kuhn and Susan Mullen. This is a $1 book, which means I spent $1 on it at the Dollar Tree. This was fine. Like it was a fun time. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best book I've ever read, but it certainly wasn't the worst. Like I said, not going to talk a lot about it because I want to hurry up and because I'm running out of storage. But yeah, check out the book review about it. This was cute. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. The last book I read, I actually thought I wasn't going to enjoy. And the only reason I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it was because I saw this author speak at YALLFest and I found the little like Q&A thing she did kind of annoying. I didn't really enjoy it. So I thought I wasn't going to love this book, but I picked it up at Goodwill and much to my surprise, I enjoyed the hell out of it. So this is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McMinnis. This is a murder mystery meets Breakfast Club style character study. So basically these 5 students get sent to detention, and when the teacher leaves the room, one of them ends up dying of this peanut allergy. And so basically like most people think like one of them did it. It's really the story of the relationship between the 4 of them. These are 4 people who have never really had a reason to come into contact with each other before. Well, 2 of them like sort of ran in similar social circles, but other than that, like they never really had a reason to know each other. It's how this like kind of traumatic and like really serious thing and that's destroying their lives, basically how it brings them together, while also still being like an incredibly good murder mystery. I wasn't like the most thrilled with the ending, although like it was like pretty unique. It's one of those situations where like when you find out what happened, or at least when I found out what happened, it was one of those things like, okay, like this was on the list. Like I didn't necessarily think that like this is what happened, but it was definitely like an option I had considered previously. I really enjoyed all of the characters. It is pretty rare for there to be, again, like 4 points of view, just like with Salt to the Sea, 4 points of view. And I really enjoyed all of them. I liked all of the characters. There is a bad boy character, the criminal of this Breakfast Club scenario, and he wasn't a total douche. I normally find that like the bad boys who are supposed to be like romantic and mysterious or whatever, I usually find that they're like total assholes and like why would I find this attractive? But he was like a good guy. I liked him. I liked also his romantic interest. Yeah, I liked all of them. I do understand that there is a sequel and it is definitely on my list. I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading it, but I do plan on reading it because I enjoyed this. It was a good read. It definitely kept me on my toes. I didn't really want to put it down. So, not the most complicated mystery ever written, but a very good character study and, like I said, just really engaging. I gave this 4 stars. I have absolutely no idea how much time I have left to record before this thing cuts me off again, so I'm going to end this here. Those were the 7 books that I read in June. I think there was actually like a really good bunch. I'm happy with this bunch. There was nothing that stood out as being like terrible or anything. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I don't know what this is going to look like after I piece together all of the different clips that I have because of this shitty ass phone. I'm going to go change out of the sweater because it is July in Florida, and even though I love looking cute, I am like swampy now. So I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.